All right. Happy morning, my dear friends. Thank you so much for joining me in this session. And we are finally there onto the last part for this module, module 5, network security. In the last class, we have seen how we can take advantage of performing man-in-middle attack with the help of Bettercap. We started Bettercap to work on the specific interface, and we turned on the modules like net.probe, and we also configured options for ARP spoof before starting it. So to sniff the network traffic, we can use net.sniff module. Of course, net.sniff will directly display the content on the screen. But if you want to save this into a different file and read that later using Wireshark, then we use options that are already part of net.sniff. Again, any module that we are loading, we can make use of those options that are already part of those modules. So in this process, we are not enabling packet forwarding. This will be taken care by Bettercap directly. So all you need to do is to turn on the concerned modules to make that particular attack successful. So there is yet another easier method, which is using something called as caplets. Bettercap come with bunch of caplets. Caplets are nothing but set of instructions that can be executed automatically to perform the operation like SSL stripping or man-in-middle attack or ARP poisoning and so on. In fact, all the commands that we have executed can be placed in one single text file, and that file is called as a caplet. As you can see here, we turned on the net.probe module. We turned on the ARP full duplex, and we configured the and we also started the net.sniff module. One more option that I actually enabled here, we'll look into the help manual, right, and see on what is the purpose of this. But if we put this entire set of commands into one single file and feed this to Bettercap, it will automatically execute all these commands. So this is kind of a custom caplet that we are going to create, but Bettercap comes with some inbuilt caplets which can perform bunch of activities like SSL stripping and so on. Previously, Kali used to come with this tool called as SSL strip, which can allow us to downgrade this HTTPS to HTTP. Remember, not all HTTPS websites can be downgraded. If the implementation for the website is done with the help of SSL certificates, then SSL strip can strip that SSL certificate to downgrade that to HTTP. If it is implemented using TLS, then the website cannot be downgraded. So in those scenarios, we can perform something called as DNS poisoning. We'll look at that in the next practical. But let's create a simple caplet. So all of you create a caplet file on your desktop with this set of commands. So all of you change your location to desktop. Open a new file. I'm going to name it as mitm.cap. The .cap extension is compulsory. It's a normal text file, but you need to use extension as .cap. And put all the commands in this file. This is the same exact commands that we executed in the last class after loading Bettercap. But we are just placing all those commands in one single file. Turning on net.probe module, set our ARP spoof full duplex to true. Set ARP spoof targets to your target's IP address. So don't write it as target's IP, write your target IP address over there. In my case, again, I configured both the devices to go on NAT network. So I'll be using the concerned target IP. My Windows 10 IP address. ఆగండి వస్తా అక్కడికి అంత ఇబ్బంది పడిపోతుంది సెకండ్ 254. Yesterday, we didn't saw the help manual for this net.sniff. So we'll look into the help manual to know what is the purpose of this net.sniff.local. Of course, net.sniff module, major purpose is to start sniffing, similar to Wireshark. So if you are using ARP spoof, then we need to use Wireshark in connection with it because ARP spoof doesn't have that capability of starting a capture. Please note that don't use 10.10.10.254, use your target IP address. Again, it is target IP, not attacker IP. And one more thing, my dear friends, I observed that most of you have tried this Bettercap yesterday, and there can be certain issues when you are using Bettercap. At times, the module may not work properly. In that case, simply close Bettercap and start it again. Turn off all the modules, close it, and then reload it. It should go well. So tools are tools. At times, they may not function properly. The quick fix is to try restarting it. And one more important thing, if you are using Windows 7 device to perform this man-in-middle attack or any other activities, before doing it, turn off firewall and then do it. Because on that mission, we actually enabled firewall with outbound rules blocked. That is intentional, just to demonstrate one of the practicals in the upcoming modules. So as you already know the administrator password, log in as admin, turn off the firewall, and then you can use that Windows 7 also for this practical. Again, it can be any device as target. You can use some other Kali Linux or Parrot or some other Linux machine as target for this particular practical. So it is not compulsory that the target should be a Windows device. No matter whether it is Windows or Linux, the attack will work exactly same. But before proceeding with the attack, make sure that both the devices are on the same network and they are able to reach each other. By performing ping, you can check from one device to another device. If both are able to communicate with each other, then we can proceed with this attack. One more important thing, this attack works only when you are part of the target network. So ARP is a protocol that works within network. So you can never ever perform this on a device that is there on the internet. And again, this is yet another common question that I receive. Can I do this attack on a website? Remember, no, this is not a web application attack. This is a network-based attack. We are a networking module, not web application module. So if you are planning to do it on a web server, you must be part of that network where the web server is located. Then only it is possible. You can do it on the web server. So anyone who is hitting that web server, right, you can actually sniff that particular traffic. But that is not possible all the scenarios because you need to be part of the target network inside that internal network where this web server is located. So web related attacks are a different case. We'll talk about those things later. So this is the caplet, and we can feed this caplet directly to run Bettercap. So before going on to loading this caplet, let's look at the options for net.sniff and see what it is going to do. So to start Bettercap, it is sudo Bettercap -i face ETH0. I'm going to run net.sniff help manual. So help space net.sniff. So sniff packets from the network. So if you specify net.sniff.local, if true, it will consider packets from to this computer. Otherwise, it will skip them. So until and unless you enable this particular option, right, you cannot capture packets that are going from this device or coming towards this particular device. So that is the reason why we added this particular option along with it. Next, there is a caplet that is already present on your Bettercap, which can be used for this SSL stripping. So to see all those caplets, you can run caplets.show. Note down this command, caplets.show. Caplets.show. Let's exit out of this Bettercap and take advantage of running this MITM caplet along with Bettercap. So the contents of this file are nothing but the same as what we have executed in the last class individually after loading Bettercap. So note down the command. To load the caplet along with Bettercap command, it is sudo Bettercap -i face ETH0. To give this particular caplet as an input for Bettercap command, we use caplet option. So caplet followed by the caplet name. So whatever caplet name or caplet that you want to load, you can give that particular caplet. So -caplet mitm.cap. So this simply loads all those options. As you can see, iFace, ETH0, caplet, with the caplet name, it loaded all those options and it started sniffing. Now, if I move on to the target and verify the ARP catchy, and are you seeing that spoofing is not successfully done? This is what I told you before. At times it happens. In that case, simply close Bettercap, right? Make sure that the details in the caplet are perfect. Let us give it few seconds and verify the ARP table. Still, it is not working. Let us check whether these two devices are able to reach each other or not. The IP address of my Kali Linux is 254 and my Windows device is also running at 254, right? This is the problem, right? Anyhow, so at times when you are actually configuring this devices on NAT network, but the attack is not working, then immediately go back and check what is the IP address of both the devices. So there is a clash. So obviously it is not working. So the first thing to do is to change the network settings. So I'm going to power off this Windows device. So I'm going to refresh the MAC address. Start the device again. So my Kali Linux is on 10.10.10.254. Let us check whether this device is able to reach internet or not. Perfect. Now we should have a different IP address for this Windows machine. Remember, for this particular attack, there is nothing to do with firewall. Even if the firewall is turned on, the attack works. So let us verify the IP address of this device. Now the device IP address got changed. It is 253. Let me go back to the caplet file. It is 253 as target IP address. Again, if you are not setting this option, it will perform this ARP poisoning on all the devices in the network by default. So in this case, we are focusing on this one single device only. So I'm going to save this file and let us check whether these two devices are able to communicate with each other or not. 253. Yes. My device is able to reach 253 and ping 10.10.10.250. Now let's perform this attack. Attack started. Give it just few seconds and then verify ARP-A. There we go. The MAC address of the gateway is same as the MAC address of attacker. Again, in the real world scenario, will not do this particular activity, going there onto the target and then checking. But here, in case of we hosting our own target, just to understand the concept, we are going on ARPI. So if the target is going to visit some website or do any kind of web related activity, those requests will be recorded by my Bettercap. Again, it is directly going on to the HTTPS version. As you can see, the requests are getting recorded, but even if the password is entered, you'll not see that password there. All because of HTTP version that we are loading. To forcefully take it towards HTTP demo.testfire.net. The actual website was down. Let's go on test PHP, or let's go on vulnweb.com. Test php.vulnweb.com. vulnweb.com. Again, it is redirecting to HTTPS. So this is yet another alternate. So I can go on sign up page and use test as password. You'll see this getting recorded in your Bettercap. Now, how to perform this SSL stripping? Note down the commands for SSL stripping. After performing this particular activity, if you run help, you will see all the modules that are available in Bettercap. Yet another module that we can use is HTTP proxy. So HTTP proxy. Let's look into the help manual for HTTP proxy. A full-featured HTTP proxy that can be used to inject malicious content into web pages. All HTTP traffic will be redirected to it. So we are going to perform SSL stripping. So I'm going to enable this http.proxy.ssl strip, which is going to enable or disable SSL stripping. So by default, it is set to false. We need to set it to true. So this will help us in stripping that SSL. So how to set it to true? Set http.proxy .ssl strip to true. Set http.proxy.ssl strip is equal to true. All other commands that we executed previously are same. One more thing that we are executing now is this HTTP proxy SSL strip. And the caplet that comes pre-built with Bettercap is this HSTS hijack, HSTS hijack. So this particular caplet will help us on performing this SSL stripping. Once we are done setting up the proxy SSL strip option to true, we need to run this caplet, perform SSL stripping. So in fact, in my case, it is not showing those caplets. So if I go on caplets.show, there is something wrong in the path. So the path is actually missing. So let me go and run this particular command, caplets.update. So if I run show caplets.show, now you can see all those caplets. Note down these commands. The first thing that I did is caplets.show, but I am missing those caplets on my computer. So we verified the options that are available for caplets module. So caplets.update will install and update the caplets. Now, what are all these caplets? Once you update, it will download all the caplets that are available for different activity. So for phishing, right? For Git spoof, HTTP, JavaScript inject. So these are all different attacks, right? One of those caplets that we created, which is mitm.cap, is also part of this. So these caplets are part of user local share Bettercap caplets, out of which we are going to pick this HSTS hijack, HSTS hijack. The last command is to run HSTS hijack, HSTS hijack. That's it. Now, if the target is trying to visit some website which is vulnerable, we must be able to visit it with HTTP version. Let's see. Let's test our luck. It will not work every time. ఈరోజు గనక నా అదృష్టం బాగుంటే very good. OnlineSBI.com. It is going on HTTP. Next, let me go on Bing.com. So Bing went on to HTTPS, but successfully managed to show you SBI, OnlineSBI.com. We are able to downgrade that HTTPS to HTTP. Let me go on one last example, LinkedIn.com. HTTP version. Now, if someone try to visit and log in, right, I must be able to capture that password. Again, when I'm clicking on sign in, it is redirecting to HTTPS. This is where the problems will be with the caplets at times, right? But when I try with LinkedIn.com directly, I managed to redirect them. Right? So caplets are caplets. So any kind of software that you use, There will be problems at times. So most of you wrote me an email saying that it is loading only HTTPS version, right? అదృష్టం కూడా ఉండాలి attack success అవ్వాలంటే, right? So just make sure that you try it couple of times. So at times it may not work. So yesterday I showed you the same exact website. We did that multiple times. It was HTTP version only. But today, even if I am forcing it, it is going on HTTPS. Of course, if you have configured that firewall rule, right, on that day, when we are discussing Windows firewalls, we actually configured that outbound rule to block everything that is going to port 80, right? If you have that rule, then it will be a problem. Make sure that you turn off it or delete that particular rule, right? Then it should work properly. Anyhow, onlinesbi.com. Again, I am going a little bit fast because when you are performing ARP poisoning, if you take long time, you need to be very fast, right? You need to quickly execute it. That is the reason why instead of loading caplet and then executing all the commands, we created our own caplet. Now let me show you the process once again. We created a caplet, and that caplet contains all the commands that we can use to start ARP poisoning on the target. And after loading this caplet, using which command? Sudo Bettercap -iface ETH0 -caplet with the caplet name, right? So once done executing this, we need to verify if that HTTP strip option is enabled or not. So set HTTP dot proxy dot SSL strip to true. Now verify all the caplets. When you run caplets.show, it should show a list of caplets. And from this list of caplets, you can pick HSTS hijack, HSTS hijack. Specify that caplet. Done. Now, if target is trying to visit some vulnerable implementation of the web service, then you must be able to see that HTTP version. That's it. Got it? So this is the reason why attack fail. Also face the same kind of issues that you are facing when you are doing it on your own device. See, it is not that simple to do it on your own device, right? This is the reason why we should appreciate that criminals who are doing this attack, right? Not for the activity that they are doing, but for the efforts that they are putting in. So I hope you all got the idea on how to perform this attack. Always remember, after completing the attack, make sure you turn off all the modules or run exit. Exit should automatically close all these things, but software is software. At times, it may leave this particular modules running in the background, right? So I recommend closing all the modules and then stop. If in your case it is not properly working, in my case it is working properly, it stopped all the modules. So when you are running exit command, observe whether it is closing all those things or not. So if you are still running the attack in the background, it will be a problem. Now you can combine these commands also as part of the caplet. So if you add, which command I need to add? Not the show.caplets.show, that is not required. We can put these two commands to this particular caplet. Now SSL stripping can be done with this particular cap, custom caplet. So that is how you can use Bettercap for performing man-in-middle attack. Let's see the third method and the third alternate tool, which is EtherCap. Please make sure that you have these commands in your notes. Again, I executed something called as caplets.update. We executed that because the caplet was not available when I run show caplets.show. So the moment I update, all those caplets are downloaded again onto the actual location. Is Bettercap by default present on your Kali Linux? Then we need to install it. Then it works. Again, also check on which version of HSTS hijack script it is, because few versions are buggy. You may not be able to do that SSL stripping. This is the reason why I always trust the old operating system than going on to the latest one. Right? Anyhow, the purpose is to make sure that you are able to successfully execute the attack, no matter whether it is old one or new one.